वेत्ति न यत्रापि समया भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहम इह गोलोकमिति यम् विदन्तस्ते सन्तः क्षितिविरह चिराचारा कतिपये। श्री श्री ब्रह्म संहिता की जय, श्री ब्रह्मा जी की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our Sunday Feast program today. We'll begin with Sunday Feast Srimad Bhagavatam class, and today's speaker is His Grace Braj Chandra Prabhu. This class will be relayed live on Radha Gopinath media channel on YouTube, both in English as well as in Hindi. Also, the class will be relayed live on 106 FM in English and 89 FM in Hindi. At 10 a.m., we will have our second Kirtan, and this will be led by His Grace Shadbhuj Prabhu. Due to the ongoing temple renovation work and space constraints in temple courtyard, serving full prasadam during the Sunday feast has been temporarily paused. Only sweet prasadam will be served for all. We appreciate your understanding and patience in this regard as we work towards improving the temple facilities for the benefit of everyone. Bhaktivedanta Academy for Culture and Education base announces the following courses. Bhakti Vaibhav course in English, this will be online on Zoom, which will begin from Sunday 7th of September between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. The speakers for this course are His Grace Nandadulal Prabhu, Purushottam Prabhu, Radhika Vallabh Prabhu, Braj Mohan Prabhu, Pavaneshwar Prabhu, and Shrikant Krishna Prabhu. The minimum daily eligibility for this course is chanting of 16 rounds, and one should have completed the Bhakti Shastri course. This is the second course. This is a 4-session teachers training course part 1 in English, which is being held from 17th of September. The trainer for this course is His Grace Narsimha Tirtha Prabhu. For registration and further details for these courses, kindly visit course.iskonchowpatty.com or click on QR code on the individual posters displayed in the temple notice board on the ground floor. A couple of general announcements. Please do not leave your children unattended in temple, especially in areas where caution signs are indicated. Certain areas may be unsafe for children, so please be vigilant and educate them from do's and don'ts. A humble request to all the devotees to kindly keep their mobile phones on silent mode when the class is on. Hare Krishna. Let us extend a warm welcome to today's speaker, His Grace Braj Chandra Prabhu ji, by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jai Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodan Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Tiravanachari. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So, warmly welcome to all for this Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So, we are reading this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, which is entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. And today we are discussing text 3. So we will recite the text first. So I will recite one line and then you can repeat. Asinam urvayam bhagavantamadhyam sankarshanam devam akuntha sattvam vividsavas tattvam ata parasya kumara mukhya munayo anvaprichan. Asinam urvayan bhagavantamadhyam sankarshanam devamakuntha sattvam vivitsavastatvam ataha parasya kumara mukhya munayo anvaprichan. Asinamurvayam bhagavantamadhyam sankarshanam devamakuntha sattvam vividsavastatvam ataha parasya kumara mukhya munayo anvaprichan. Atah parasya kumara mukhya munayo anvaprichan. Kumara Mukhya Munayo Anvapritchan. Munayo Anvapritchan. And Matajis would like to lead. So we'll recite word by word meaning. So you can repeat after me. Asinam, seated. Urvayam, in the bottom of the universe. Bhagavantam, unto the Lord. Adyam, the original. Sankarshanam, Sankarshan. Devam, the personality of Godhead. Akunt Sattvam, undeterred knowledge. Vivitsavaha, being inquisitive to know. Tattvam Ataha, truth like this. Parasya, regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kumara, the boy saint. Mukhyaha, headed by. Munayaha, great sages. Anvapritchan, inquired like this. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanatkumar, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truths regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidur were asked by great sages like Sanatkumar and Lord Sankarshan. The plenary expansion of Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Panghum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatharinam. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to welcome everyone for this morning Sunday Bhagavatam class, seeking the blessings of all my seniors here, and so that we can speak something for our purification on this beautiful section of Srimad Bhagavatam we are reading today. So this chapter is entitled Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And in the previous chapter, basically this section is the part of the big section, the Maitreya Vidur Samvad. And in the previous chapter, chapter 7, which was entitled Further Inquiries by Vidurji, Vidurji had asked various questions. And in this chapter, Maitreya Rishi begins to answer. And from this text to the next few texts, Maitreya Rishi basically explains the Parampara of Srimad Bhagavatam, or where it was spoken first. So this we see the repeated theme in Srimad Bhagavatam, or in general the Vedic texts. The knowledge is passed in Parampara. Wherever we have any conversations, be it Bhagavad Gita or any Vedic literatures, there are reference given on same subject matter. I heard when this devotee asked this devotee, or when this senior asked this personality. So here also, before beginning the pravachan on Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Maitreya Rishi ji is explaining that how this parampara began, like whatever questions in the next few verses we will read. Maitreya Rishi is mentioning that whatever questions you are asking, similar questions have been asked by these, which is being referred here as Sanatkumar ji to Sankarshan Muni. So the whole parampara in the next few verses is described how And then Sanatkumar ji explained this to Sankhyayan Rishi, and who explains this to Parashar Rishi and Brahaspati, and from Parashar ji, Maitreya Muni heard. So that is the whole Parampara. So in this today's class, we'll talk a little bit about the Parampara, and then also today happens to be a very, very historic day. Today is the 60th anniversary of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada boarding the cargo ship, Sindhya steamship, to go to America. So this is 1965. As per the English calendar, it happened on 13th August, Friday, 1965. So we will see how that day is a very, very important and historic day in the history of the timeline of universal creation, how this is a very, very landmark day. So we'll discuss these two things, the importance of Parampara, how this Parampara is being established in this section. Sanatkumar ji is one of the, all of us know the Chhatushkumaras, the four brothers, the Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanatkumar. He's the elder one, the eldest one, born from the mind of Brahmaji, the Manas Putras. Basically, eternally liberated beings, Nitya Muktas, and they're, of course, Brahmaji asked them for creation, but they denied, and they said that our life is just for pure devotional service. We just want to teach renunciation and glories of spiritual life. So, renunciant from the beginning, they decided to remain as 5-year-old child for the rest of your life, for the rest of their life. So they are eternally 5 years old age. Maybe a child, no aging. People try so much to stop age, but this was the power these sages had. No aging, so 5 years, so that's what they refuse to engage in anything material, lifelong vow of celibacy, devotion to the Lord, remain like child, like innocence, so they don't get contaminated. And of course, as we know from Srimad Bhagavatam, initially they were inclined towards impersonal Brahman realization, and finally the encounter with Jai and Vijay and the basis of the Mahavatar movie began with these four Chhatushkumaras, and just by the fragrance of the Tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord transformed their heart from lovers of impersonal Brahman to the lovers of Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotional service. So this is what the fragrance of the Tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord can do. Just that fragrance can transform. Krishna has various ways to transform people's heart. So just by the fragrance of the Tulsi, so we should all try to worship Tulsi and offer Tulsi very dear to the Lord. So just that fragrance transformed their life. And then of course they became the teachers of spiritual science, and the four Vaishnav Sampradaya in different Vaishnav lineages, these four Kumaras head one of the Sampradaya, the Kumar or the Nimbark Sampradaya. So therefore, these are very, very important four personalities. So the four prominent Vaishnav Sampradayas, the Brahma Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, the Kumara Sampradaya, and the Shri Sampradaya. So one of the prominent Sampradayas began with these four Kumaras. And in this section, it is described in this verse how they went actually to the bottom of the universe. Where is that? Yeah. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanatkumar, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by great sages, inquired, like you, about the truths regarding the Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. So that's the distance, and the next few verses it is described. They came from the higher planets to where Garbhodak ocean or Pathala Loka is there down. So it is a lot of travel to go to hear the Bhagavatam class from Sankarshanji at the bottom. So this is being described here. They went actually all the way bottom. So this is their eagerness to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Somebody can switch off this fan. Thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, so this was their eagerness. Of course, now with technology, it has become easier. The Bhagavatam can reach through the medium of everyone's home. But this was the eagerness of the Sanatkumars and the other sages who traveled, described in the next verses, how they traveled through Mother Ganga, the path followed by the river Ganga, and then they reached, and this verse describes, sat and heard from Sri Shankarshanji, or Anantashesh, manifestation of Sankarshan, Sri Balaramji, whose appearance day we celebrated yesterday. So Anantadev, as we all know, Anantasheshji is been speaking the glories of the Lord with his unlimited hoods from time immemorial. He's doing a massive seva of holding all the universes, all the planets within the universe on his hoods and glorifying the Lord. One of of course, the devotees many of the time describe that he is doing a pretty intense seva of holding the universe, but he is satisfied, peaceful, because he is hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord. So this is the secret of being peaceful in spite of the burdens of this world, which the world is going to offer to each one of us. So the burdens are going to come, but the way to remain peaceful and satisfied is to hear and speak the glories of the Supreme Lord. What can be more, not burdensome, but the weight of all the planets of the universe. None of us can say that we have so many problems in life which are heavier than that. नहीं, कई बार लगता है दिमाग भारी हो गया, पूरा धरती का बोझ सिर पर आ गया. But that Ananta Shesh is holding all the planets of the universe. So must be, I don't know, we can't even calculate the trillions and kgs of tons of weight, but he's peacefully glorifying the Supreme Lord. And therefore, authentic, of course, Sankarshan represents the Tij Shakti, the knowledge Shakti. Therefore, Sanatkumarji and the sages approached them. So it's a matter of the continuous glorification, the continuous katha is being done by Sri Ananta Shesh. So it's like in terms of today's language, the massive amount of data which, if it is recorded or stored, probably all the data centers of whatever, Microsoft, Google, Apple, or whatever, would not be sufficient to hold a little, even a tiny bit of the data of what is being generated, the audio-visual generated by Sri Anantadev glorifying the Supreme Lord. So this is a massive data which is there. And then in this verse also it is described how, as we are discussing, is the Parampara system, how the Bhagavatam and other scriptures quote that the same verse or same concept we heard, like in the Rajsuya sacrifice also, when Yudhishthirji asked Narad Muni certain doubts about the impartiality of the Lord, then Narad Muni said, okay, similar questions were asked by your great-grandfathers to Shukadev Goswami, and then he narrates. So similarly, so this is what is the Parampara system. Very, very carefully, this knowledge of scriptures is handed down from Guru to disciples. This is not like just the text is being handed down. Not that pothi is written and it is handed out, but it is the mood, the intent, the bhav. Therefore, this Parampara system is very, very important. And it's like a very perfectly tuned relay system where the original truth is passed down exactly as received without any distortion through unbroken chain of realized teachers and sincere disciples. So that is what the Parampara is. And Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita actually lists down our Gaudiya Sampradayas Parampara, how Krishna spoke to Brahmaji, to Naradji, to Vyasadeva, to Madhvacharya, and the whole Parampara. So in this way, all the bona fide Sampradayas do have a Parampara, an unbroken chain of realized teachers and disciples or practitioners who pass on this message. So therefore, this is very, very important that we imbibe or we hear the knowledge from bona fide sources who are part of a bona fide parampara. Otherwise, there are chances of, or there will be chances of distortion. I think initially when we came here, we were taught that game. I don't know still if they do it in that Gita course on Chinese whisper. I don't know what that is called now, but you would like give a sentence. You have like 10 people. Like if I sit in this temple hall, if I tell Agastya Rishi Prabhu some line and tell him to repeat it to Prabhuji and behind, and the end of it, if you see the message, the line would be completely different. Those who have played or seen it or can try it actually. It actually distorts. So it's just a matter of few seconds or minutes, the whole message is broken. But this parampara of the scriptures have been going on from the time of the origin. The Krishna gave the scriptures, and such beautifully, such authentically, the whole message has been passed. So that is the beauty of Parampara. The disciples, the students were trained to repeat exactly what was taught with the understanding and application based on the time, place, and circumstances. So the same message, how it has to be applied. So therefore, it was important that the Parampara, the person who is carrying these message, practices, experiences, and realizes the message before he passes on to it. Otherwise, the message can get affected, contaminated by our mundane thoughts and other. Therefore, this is Parampara system is very, very important that the message, the principles, the etiquette, the mood is transformed as it is. And the power of the Parampara lies in the connection between the Guru and the spiritual master. Therefore, this Parampara is the link remains unbroken through genuine discipleship. At no point in history or in the future, if we have to preserve this Parampara, we can say that at this point the Parampara stops. No. Then there will be chances of distortions, there will be chances of misinterpretation of the same sacred texts. Therefore, it's important that the Parampara, so basically in essence, the sadhana or the life of the person who is carrying the message, who has realized the message, plays a very, very important role. So it does not stop that, okay, this Bhagavatam is there, that's it, you give the book to the other person. No, when the Parampara has to continue, when the practitioners very sincerely follow these teachings and realize in their life this message. So, so with this now, we will come to the historic day of today, which is the 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada boarding the Jaladuta cargo ship to go to America. I think Krishna Chandra Prabhu was very wonderfully yesterday explaining the glories of Sri Balaram, and then he explained that how Sri Balaram in this age of Kali appeared as Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and he gave the classic pastime of Jaghai and Madhai's transformation. And we see the same parampara, the same legacy which Nityananda Prabhu or Sri Balaram, who represents the Guru Tattva, Srila Prabhupada carried that same legacy, same mood. The mood of Nityananda Prabhu was to give Mahaprabhu's mercy to one and all. And that was the same mood of Srila Prabhupada, to give the mercy of Mahaprabhu, the mercy of his Guru to all the living beings. And the way, why Nityananda Prabhu wanted to approach Jagai and Madhai, of course there were many other people whom he could have approached, and he was approaching. Even though many people were saying that whoever Jagai, before they met Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu met, they were saying, no, don't approach these two people, they are to pagal log hain. Why are you going? They are mad, they are drunkards, they have committed all the sins in life. Whatever is possible, you name the sin and they have done it. That was their portfolio. But Nityananda Prabhu was going towards them still with the desire to transform them, and with the hope that if people see that these two are changed, then the glory of Mahaprabhu would spread everywhere, and people will realize, wow, ये दोनों भक्त बन सकते हैं तो फिर सब भक्त बन सकते हैं. So hope for everyone. So it gives hope to everyone, gives the and it glorifies Mahaprabhu's mercy to one and all. So with that same spirit, Srila Prabhupada was trying to preach in India, and later on he realized not so much was happening here, and the same spirit that if he goes to the West, so this is 1965, so when we discuss this past time, we'll have to keep in mind this is 1965, where the cultural and the social and political things was not as what it is now, and the connectivity as it is now. It was, the world was not so well connected. Hardly any planes were there which were flying from India to America directly. Whatever planes were there, primarily used by diplomats or very, very high net individuals, like very expensive flights. So just to carry that mood of Nityananda Prabhu, his Guru's instruction to preach in English language to the Western world, Prabhupada also decided to go to the West, because that time, whatever people in India were still of that mindset, that was the cultural, social setup, was that whatever is in the West is good. Unfortunately, that was the mindset. And people were thinking that America was great that time, so-called great. Now they are again trying to revive or make America great, but that's what at least Indians were thinking, that India was great that time, and people looking forward to America. And it was actually politically, socially very powerful, very influential place, definitely. So Prabhupada had that in mind, that if like Jagai Madhai got devotees, then, and if Americans or the people of America take to Krishna consciousness, then it would be a big impact on Krishna consciousness spreading throughout the world, even India. And it actually happened when Srila Prabhupada brought his first disciples in India. Then the Indians took Srila Prabhupada and the message, the same Vedic text, Vedic message, seriously. Before that, they were not taking the message of the Gita, and our own wealth we had forgotten. So कई बार होता है बाहर से लाके दिखाएं, अरे वाह ये है, वो these people are following. Many of us, or at least few of us, were definitely attracted seeing the Western. अरे यार ये साधु लोग हैं, अंग्रेजी में बात करते हैं, and they talk in English, and we had never heard. So that was needed at that time, and Srila Prabhupada was instructed by his spiritual master to go. So even though it was a very, very difficult task for him, 1965, he was born in 1896, got the instruction in 1922, a lifetime in preparation, very beautifully His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj describes. And then finally the time comes in where Srila Prabhupada had to go, and all logic does not make any sense for Srila Prabhupada to go to America at that age. I think Krishna Chandra Prabhu was mentioning yesterday about exam. He was saying that Guru means heavy. So He was saying it doesn't mean heavy in terms of weight, heavy in terms of that whatever all other logic or everyone else says and what Guru says, the palada bhari is of Guru. So Guru is heavier in terms of instructions, or whatever. Nowadays, what we have that petition signed, let's say the petition has been signed by whatever 8 billion population and Gurudev signs the petition on the other side. So the balance would fall on the side of the Guru. So that's what it means, Guru. So logically, it didn't make any sense. Srila Prabhupada took sannyas, retired, translating Srimad Bhagavatam very happily, peacefully, situated at Sri Radha Damodar Mandir, the hub of the universe, and translating and performing his bhajan, had no acquaintances in America, no knowledge of what America looks like. So this is 65 again. Nobody much knew about what America looks like or what is there in America. Just that jo log gaye hain, kuch bataya hai, something is good there. Nice big buildings are there. So there's no connection so much. So if some logic is used that 69-year-old person, very few of us here sitting here are above 69. Those who are above 69 or 70 can better understand. As one time Bhakti Charu Maharaj was asked this question in the audience. He said, unless we become that age, we will not understand what it means to be at the age of 69, the age of retirement be 60 ka age hota hai, whatever, government retirement is 60, but this is 69, where Prabhupada is taking that mood of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and to fulfill that historic prediction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prithviyate yach nagar adigram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. Lord Chaitanya had predicted, Chaitanya Bhagavat describes, that the whole world, the holy names would be chanted. Until then, the world not so connected, there was no question or nobody even thought that this is possible. Kahin koi jayega kya? And we will see as we move forward in the discussion that when Prabhupada was there in America, in one of the first few classes, Prabhupada is talking about Krishna, and then he's talking how Krishna is so beautiful, and then Prabhupada is saying, even in the battlefield, you see the photo how Krishna looked so beautiful and youthful. And he saw in the audience no response, very few audience. And then he asked, have any one of you seen a photo of Krishna? None of them raised their hand, whatever few people were there. So Krishna ke baare mein kisi ne suna hi nahi tha. That was the audience which Prabhupada is going to address to. And Prabhupada's his first language is not English, Bengali. So wo ja rahe hain in a foreign land with no acquaintance, no backing, financial backing or bank balance, and to an audience who have not even heard about Krishna. So none of them in the audience had heard what Krishna is or seen a photograph of Krishna. So it's much easier now. Wherever you go, people have heard about Krishna, people have seen photos of Krishna. It's all there everywhere. Thanks to globalization and internet that we can spread. Actually, the only best use of this is to spread Krishna consciousness. The best purpose of the internet or globalization or whatever, the connectivity of the world is that the message which Bharat Bhumi has to offer, the spiritual culture, the spiritual wealth that has to offer, can reach all over the world. So that was the whole idea. So this was the state of affairs, and still Srila Prabhupada wanted to fulfill the desires of his spiritual master which had been given. And of course, when we read about this, we have to be careful that when we talk about the lives of great personalities, they work on a different realm. Of course, when the Lord appears, Adhyatmic, he does act most of the time as per the human laws, but then some inhuman or divine leelas which are beyond humans. So similarly, when Nitya Siddhas like Srila Prabhupada and other devotees who appear, they lead an apparent normal human type of life. At the same time, these leelas, their pastimes, when we hear, we should keep in mind that there are different set of rules which apply. So we cannot say that if Prabhupada did like this, I should do it like that. So different rules for them, different rules for us. So that we have to be careful. Different laws of the physics are there in the spiritual world. So like for those traveling on the road, the red, green, and yellow. Yeah, red, green, yellow, the traffic signals are there. And those empowered personalities who are flying, for them, those red, green, yellow don't work. There are different air traffic control rules. So they have their own realm and rules. So that we have to be careful when we describe Srila Prabhupada's Leela. And it is the Bhagavatam, because the lives of great souls revolve around Krishna, around giving Krishna to others, leading the life based on Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, it is non-different from discussing Bhagavat. So that is what Parampara is. When we read scriptures and when we see the lives of those taking that legacy, when we study their lives of acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and all the other current acharyas who are continuing this parampara, we actually get the holistic picture and understand how it is possible for a sadhaka to practically apply these principles being spoken in Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, this is very, very important that we understand that these laws are different. The laws of the spiritual world apply, which are different. I don't know. I was remembering, I think the other day, I think 3-4 days back, Shivram Prabhu gave a very wonderful class on Jhulan Yatra. Very beautifully he was describing the Jhulan Leela. Just this point reminds me. And then he was describing how the gopis were carrying those flower balls or flower bombs, which were so soft that even if somebody would blow, it would break. तो मैं सोच रहा था उसको हाथ से पकड़ेंगे कैसे? How soft it would be that even if you blow, it will just stick or how will it resist? So this is that typical material laws of physics. अरे वो friction होगी, हवा में जाएंगे तो हवा में ही टूट जाएगा. Will it reach the target? So that's what I was analyzing it. So the point is, we should not analyze those laws of physics when we are discussing those subject matters. So that he is the original physics wala, the original personality who controls all the laws of physics in that realm. So therefore, the point basically we had before we are going to discuss Prabhupada's Leela is that please be careful. We have to do as the scriptures describe is anusaran, not anukaran. So basically, the subtle difference between arukaran and anusaran. Anukaran is basically copying, exactly trying to imitate without understanding the purport. And anusaran is following in true meaning or in essence. Like a parrot repeating the speech. There are parrots who can repeat exactly, but without any understanding. So without having that faith and without having those realization, acting on a platform how Srila Prabhupada acted could lead to disaster. And then, of course, so the anusaran basically literally means to walk behind or to follow the path. Aligning one's action with the principles, the mood, and understanding the intention of the person being followed. So that is the mood has to be understood. Why such a great exalted personality, the way he is acting, not just that we imitate. So with this, we begin the historic voyage which happened 1965, 13th August, and Friday, it was 9 a.m., I think, where Srila Prabhupada boarded this historic voyage. And I'll just come to it. Yeah. So basically, with whatever time we have, we will just read through few sections of Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrit by His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj. And this is basically like a trailer for all of us to inspire, to read and understand the life of Srila Prabhupada more, so that we can dedicate and surrender our lives more and assist him in his mission, in his desire to serve his spiritual master. So that is the whole idea of today's class, is to just read through few sections of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit to inspire us to study Srila Prabhupada's Leela more deeply and take shelter of his lotus feet and assist our spiritual masters with taking inspiration, anusaran, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, how much struggle he did to follow the instruction of his spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Jaladuta, like a cargo carrier, Scindia steam navigation company, that time one of the biggest company, and it was a cargo ship, but it had a passenger cabin which was reserved for the VIPs and their families and all. So that was given to Srila Prabhupada. It traveled almost 35 days to reach America. So we can imagine this is the journey which Srila Prabhupada had to take alone. 35 days. So we 35 घंटे भी कहीं एक धाम से कहीं से जाना पड़ता है. We have all our preparations to prasadam, connects to, we call up people to provide prasad, or we have now wonderful facility, different stations, prasadam is being provided. So this is 35 days historic journey to fulfill the mission of his spiritual master. So that mood, essence we have to pick up is how much Srila Prabhupada struggled to fulfill the wish of his guru. And the cabin was occupied by Sri Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami, listed age 69, taken on board, which was, the ticket was bearing complimentary ticket with food. And we know how much Srila Prabhupada struggled to get that ticket. Sumati Mararji, the kind lady who helped Srila Prabhupada in publishing Srimad Bhagavatam also, who was leading this India shipping company, Srila Prabhupada had to literally beg for hours, for days to get her appointment, and then to finally convince her to let him go. Out of concern, she was reserved that Prabhupada, that this age you are going to America, you may not be able to survive, they are cold there. And you have never seen cold of what America's is. You won't get any good food to eat there. So, but Srila Prabhupada was focused on his mission. No, this is my Guru's desire. Whether prasad or no prasad, or cold or heat, or acquaintance or no acquaintance, whatever, it is the mission of my Guru Maharaj that I have to go. And Jaladuta was that time under the command of fortunate captain Mr. Arun Pandyaji, and his good wife is also there. And Prabhupada, there's a beautiful book, the Jaladuta Diary, which Srila Prabhupada writes every day what happened in that. It's a very beautiful description. It's available on internet. If you can read 35 days how Srila Prabhupada spent his time in Jaladuta. Very, very beautifully. When Prabhupada had gone to get the ticket, they had given the diary as a gift to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada used that diary to write notes. And this is a very personal diary of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is expressing his heart. We will come to that. It's not that Prabhupada was thinking that so this is 1965, no temples of ISKCON, no ISKCON was there, nothing. Srila Prabhupada was just simple sannyasi staying in Vrindavan. Nothing he had. And Prabhupada's first lines, he writes that cabin is quite comfortable, thanks to Sri Krishna for enlightening Sumiti Mararji for all these arrangements, and I am quite comfortable. Of course, the next day Prabhupada experienced seasickness, dizziness, vomiting. There were heavy rains in Bay of Bengal and more sickness. So a lot of seasickness. Those who have traveled on ship, of course this is 65 ship, to our conditions would be much more austere and severe, and traveling on seasickness was there. And so Prabhupada experienced extreme sicknesses on board, and finally some relief from sickness in between. And when Prabhupada, finally the ship first stopped at Colombo, Sri Lanka, and then Prabhupada got some relief. Captain Arunji took Srila Prabhupada and showed him around Colombo by car, and so that's how Srila Prabhupada spent his first few days with intense sickness. And so this is August 13th that time, 65. And very beautifully, Krishna Chandra Prabhu was mentioning yesterday that it is not coincident that this happens to be the next day of Sri Balaram Purnima, or the appearance of Sri Balaramji. Jai Shri Radha, Gopinath, Bhagavan ki jai. We celebrated Balaramji's appearance, and it is just the next day Srila Prabhupada took this historic voyage, just the next day, to spread the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is very special that it just happened the next day. And in the next few days was, as we are going to celebrate on 16th, Sri Krishna Janmashtami. So Prabhupada celebrated his Janmashtami on board Jaladuta, 1965 Jaladuta. I think the previous year in 64, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He celebrated the Janmashtami. He had invited the governor of Uttar Pradesh, and many dignitaries were there. And Prabhupada had good connections in India. He was very well connected with our Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, and had many acquaintances, very well connected, very well settled in India. And here he is, 65 Janmashtami on Jaladuta. And of course, Prabhupada did have a katha. He spoke to the crew, whoever could come, managed to spoke, and he distributed prasadam. Prabhupada himself cooked a special feast, which Prabhupada prepared for all the Arun Pandya and his family and other crew members. And then the next day, as we know, is Nandotsav, and also the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada's 69th birthday, without any ceremony, had the sea. And that same day the ship arrived at Cochin, and that's where Srila Prabhupada's trunks of Srimad Bhagavatam volumes, the first 3 volumes which Srila Prabhupada had translated in English language, the message of Parampara, of the Acharyas, first time historically in the English language, which were shipped from Bombay to Cochin and were loaded on board on Cochin on the same day of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. At one place, Srila Prabhupada did mention that I did not travel to the West. It was Srimad Bhagavatam which traveled to the West, and somebody had to carry them. So therefore, I went with them. So it's on his birthday, this Cochin, and so that's how the ship was moving. Finally, on the 23rd of August, in Red Sea, Prabhupada encountered another sickness. He wrote in his diary, rain, seasickness, dizziness, headache, no appetite, vomiting. So this is 69-year-old man alone on the ship. So there were actually, when Srila Prabhupada came to board the ship, there were only few people, 3-4 people, Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada's son, and few other acquaintances had come to see off Srila Prabhupada, and he was alone. And there were a lot of pain in Srila Prabhupada's heart, and Prabhupada writes that the pain was such intense that he was thinking he would die at any moment. In the next 2 days, Srila Prabhupada suffered 2 heart attacks on board. And Satsvarup Maharaj writes, Srila Prabhupada tolerated the difficulty meditating on the purpose of his mission. And Prabhupada says that if another were to come, he would certainly not survive. I was hearing beautiful talks on this subject matter given by, I think, Braj Bihari Prabhu. You can check in his YouTube channel. Challenges Srila Prabhupada faced before reaching America. This about Jaladuta. Very beautiful talk. Braj Bihari Prabhu describes this episode. And at this point he says that Prabhupada, and when he actually landed on US, he was right on his mission to accomplish. It's not that he went to the doctor first, let me get my cardio test done, and I had a heart attack. So as we were talking, Anukaran, Anusmaran, so we have to be careful whenever some signs of chest pain or heart attack, we go to the hospital and get the 2D echo or whatever calcium score done. So we have to Anusaran, follow the mood, the earnestness, the eagerness to preach. At the same time, at our level, we have to do what we need to do for the preaching. But here was Srila Prabhupada, 2 heart attacks, alone, was not sure whether he will survive or not. And that same night, Srila Prabhupada had a dream of Sri Krishna. Krishna in his many forms was rowing the boat, and of course not dream but vision we can say. Krishna told Prabhupada that you should not fear, but should come along. Prabhupada felt assured of Lord Krishna's protection, and the violent attacks did not reoccur from that day on. And of course, as we heard that it was his Guru's desire and instruction, and Srila Prabhupada prepared, and while in his Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada describes that how actually Srila Rupa Goswami also personally appeared. I think beautiful episode Gaur Vilas Prabhu described on Rupa Goswami's disappearance day, how Prabhupada actually appeared, Rupa Goswami appeared to Srila Prabhupada and told him that go to the west. So Prabhupada was fulfilling a prophecy of Mahaprabhu, a prophecy of all the acharyas of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all our previous Parampara and acharya. So therefore this historic voyage which we are reading is not some ordinary travel journey of a person, what he did in his travel. This is very, very historic timeline which we are discussing. The Jaladuta entered Suez Canal, stopped at Port Said. Srila Prabhupada visited the city with the captain who wanted to do some shopping there. Prabhupada recovers, and then he said that he did his own cooking, made his own khichdi and puris, and then his health improved slowly. And in his diary on September 9, Thursday, Srila Prabhupada writes, to 4 this afternoon we have crossed over Atlantic Ocean for 24 hours. The whole day was clear and almost smooth. I am taking my food regularly and have got some strength to struggle. So please listen attentively, Prabhupada is saying, I am taking my food regularly, have got some strength to struggle. There is also a slight tacking of the ship and I am feeling a slight headache, but I am struggling. And the nectarine of life is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit, the source of all my vitality. So this is Srila Prabhupada's source of vitality. This is what nourishes the devotees, the Hari Katha. Prabhupada was just, and Prabhupada said, I'm feeling much better. The next day he writes, but I am feeling separation from Sri Vrindavan and my lords Sri Govind, Gopinath, Radha Damodar. Prabhupada had a very settled life in Vrindavan, retired life, 69. Nobody would have said anything if Srila Prabhupada would have not gone. Or even, as we will read, the struggles with Srila Prabhupada, nobody would have said, Prabhupada would have gone, health checkup kiya, 2 mahine ruke aur wapis aa jate. That would also have been good. He did try to fulfill the desires of his spiritual master, but Prabhupada persevered handled all those difficulties and challenges. The only solace, Prabhupada writes again, is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which I am tasting the nectarine of Lord Chaitanya's Leela. I have left Bharat Bhumi just to execute the order of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati in pursuance of Lord Chaitanya's order. I have no qualification, but have taken up the risk just to carry out the order of His divine grace. I depend fully on their mercy, so far away from Vrindavan. This is time when people were eagerly looking forward to go to America, and Prabhupada is. During the voyage, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes stand on the deck of the ship's rail, and he would just remember Vrindavan Dham, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so that's how his journey was there. And Captain Pandya's wife, who was very cordial, she recollects that, she told that if you were to pass beyond these crises in your health, it would indicate that goodwill of Lord Krishna. एक बार यहाँ से निकल गए फिर आपका अच्छा हो जाएगा. That was, she was predicting that. And of course, after that, the ship was very calm. And it was the historic Arun Pandya ji later on recalled that it was the calmest Atlantic crossing which they had in this Jaladuta in his career. In his entire career, this is the most calm. And he told Prabhupada that please come back with us so that we can have a nice calm crossing again. Prabhupada writes in his diary, if the Atlantic would have shown its usual face, perhaps I would have died. But Krishna has taken charge of the ship. So it is Prabhupada's humility, Prabhupada is saying that. And then September 13th, again Prabhupada writes that cooked bati charchari, it appeared to be delicious, so I was able to take some food. Special recipes of Prabhupada. Patol, which is made with a lot of hing and haldi and spicing. Prabhupada personally taught this to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. And then comes the historic thing that Prabhupada writes, today I have disclosed my mind to my companion, Lord Sri Krishna. I was just thinking, well, Krishna Chandra Prabhu was describing that pastime of Nityananda Prabhu dealing with Jaghai and Vadhai. I was thinking that Nityananda Prabhu had Haridas Thakur with him to go as a partner or pair. But here Srila Prabhupada was alone, had to deal with so many Jaghais and Vadhais, and tiny Jaghais and Vadhais, each one of us, and especially that time, the culture of America and the people were rebellion. It was like a counterculture rebel. Nobody had any faith. That was the common saying, don't believe in people age 30, above age 30. So that was the culture, and they were just against the culture establishment. The Vietnam War was, everyone was against, practically the youth were against the Vietnam War, against societal norms, leaving homes. So people were living like breaking all the regulative principles. That was the norm of life that time. And so Prabhupada was by himself alone at that age. Nityananda Prabhu was with Haridas Thakur. So he had a partner to share, but Prabhupada was by himself. Of course, Prabhupada said that he did explain that he never felt alone. He had this instruction of his spiritual master with him always. He felt the presence of Krishna, his presence of his spiritual master all throughout his journey. And that's when he wrote this very famous prayer in Bengali, Krishna Tava Punya Habe Bhai. So we do not have the time to sing now, but so there in that beautiful prayer, Srila Prabhupada expresses that he is on a mission to serve his spiritual master. I'll just read a couple of stanzas. Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is very dear to Sri Gauranga. Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Sachi Sutta Priya Ati Krishna Sevai Jaratulanai. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns, and villages on earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers, and streams, everyone will chant the names of Krishna. And then Prabhupada expresses his humility. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy so that I may become worthy. For you are the wisest and most experienced of all. So this is what it means when we are talking about Anusarana. This is the mood of a preacher. As preachers of Krishna consciousness we should have. This is the order of our spiritual master. This is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mission of our Guru. We are unworthy, unfit to do it. We are fallen and insignificant. This is what happens when we study the lives of great personalities and acharyas. We understand this is the mood which Srila Prabhupada is having when he is going to spread this historic. Actually, probably one of the first Vaishnava sannyasis to go to the Western world. Of course, many other saints had gone, but probably from the Vaishnava sampradayas, Srila Prabhupada was the first one and had the maximum impact. And beautifully, Srila Prabhupada ends the poem. Today, that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way. This is writing to Krishna. Because I have a great longing, I call to you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you, there is no means of success. So that is Srila Prabhupada's his humility when he is on his way. And so there were many challenges were there. Even if Prabhupada would have overcome these difficulties on his arrival, there were many more difficulties which probably we don't have time today, but I would recommend to hear Braj Biharipu's lecture. He describes beautiful 2 series lectures on the tribulations which Srila Prabhupada faced in his first 6 or 8 months in America. And so this was the only desire to please his spiritual master and taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that gave him the strength. And finally, after 35 days of journey from Calcutta, Jaladuta reached Boston's Commonwealth Pier or whatever, pier at 5:30 a.m., September 17, 1965. And there's a brief stop in Boston before ship goes to New York. And this is the first vision Srila Prabhupada has of America. So Prabhupada is coming from Vrindavan, where he's all the devotees, all temples, and of course he would go sometimes to Delhi to do his publication work and printing work. And that's also very intense stories, how much struggle Srila Prabhupada had. And now he comes to America, and he's the Boston harbor with a huge conglomeration of these lobster shop stands, whatever seafood shops, hanging all as meat, and those buildings and ships. And then finally Prabhupada passed through that immigration and customs, and he had a 3-month visa, which later he got it extended and officially got stamped. And so Captain Pandya at that time invited Prabhupada that let's go and take a walk to Boston before we take the ship to New York. And Prabhupada walked with Mr. Pandyaji across the footbridge, busy commercial area, and Prabhupada briefly observed the city. So this is first time Prabhupada, as I mentioned before. So it was not that people would know in India what America looks like. कुछ ज़्यादा photos वगैरह भी नहीं थी, कुछ you can't Google search what America looks like or not. So Prabhupada is just having first visit of the Boston, and after he comes back, he wrote that the most worshipped prayers, the Markine Bhagavad Dharma, teaching Krishna consciousness in America. So this is the historic verses were written at the Boston Pier, at the Boston Harbor. Very, very beautiful prayers. Boro Kripa Koile Krishna Adhamera Pati Ki Lagiya Nile Hetha Koro Ebe Kati. I'll just read the translation of these verses. Very beautiful. This is Srila Prabhupada first time seeing the American city, which so many at that time wanted to see the great America. And this is the spiritual vision of what America was that time from Prabhupada, right, in these beautiful prayers. He begins by saying, "My dear Lord Krishna, you're so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here." Of course, Prabhupada endeavored so much to come here, but Prabhupada is giving credit, "Krishna, you have brought me here. Without your sanction, it would not have been possible." So we endeavor, but we know it's all the Parampara and the Guru Varga, not taking the credit. "Now you can do whatever you like with me," Prabhupada writes. "But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this?" Sorry, but Prabhupada writes, "Why would you bring me to this terrible place?" This is the spiritual vision from America. Most people would want to go to America, see America, stand in queues to go to America. But this is the spiritual perspective, 1965. And Prabhupada writes this after he came back visiting the Boston city. "Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion." Of course, what is this about America is now to every country in the world. Now it's globalization of passion and ignorance has happened. So absorbed in the material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for transcendental message of Vasudeva, Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it, but I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I'm simply praying for your mercy that I will be able to convince them about your message. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message, the message of Parampara. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, most fallen. It's again Srila Prabhupada's humility. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. These are very like a personal dealings between the Lord, pure devotee, and his beloved master that we are. Prabhupada preserved it, and Prabhupada's disciple preserved these beautiful prayers for the history, for all the generations to come. This is beautiful, transcendental, loving exchange. O spiritual master of the all worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. So this is the secret which Prabhupada is telling us, how whatever they're trying to do is make America great again, mega. So this is what the Prabhupada is saying. When this message of Bhagavatam penetrates the heart, that's when the people of America, or for that matter, the entire world, can feel gladdened and become liberated. The whole world can become great by the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the beautiful understanding which Srila Prabhupada and our Parampara is giving, that this is the way to make the world happy. Oh Lord, I'll just end this beautiful prayer with Prabhupada concludes is, Oh Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. Nachao, nachao. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. So this is, as preachers, we have to become the instruments or puppets in the hands of our spiritual master, our gurus. Then we can actually preach. We have to become great dancers in the hands of our spiritual master. So this is what Prabhupada is teaching. And beautifully Prabhupada concludes with his utmost humility. I have no devotions. These are the qualifications to be the preacher of Krishna consciousness. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta. And now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18 September 1965. Prabhupada was finally in America. Boston, major American city with many billionaires, populated with millions. And of course, Prabhupada saw, as we read previously in his prayers, as terrible, hellish city life, dedicated to illusion of material happiness. And so finally, Srila Prabhupada, and then later, after the ship sailed into New York Harbor and docked at Brooklyn Pier at the 17th Street, Prabhupada first time saw the Manhattan skyline, the Empire State Building, and the Statue of Liberty. And so Prabhupada was dressed like a resident of Vrindavan with his kanthi mala, simple dhoti, kurta, japmala, and he had a jacket, and with all his trunk and of books, very little possessions he was, and probably, as we discussed, first Vaishnav sannyasi to arrive in New York with uncompromised appearance, and he was on his own. He had a sponsor, Mr. Agarwal, somewhere in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he was hoping somebody would be there to greet him, of course. And yes, Gopalji had sent one of Gopalji from Gopal Agarwalji's madhyam or medium had sent his person to escort Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada came out from the ship, Prabhupada did mention later on that I did not know whether to turn left or right. So he was not sure. So even in India, we have to go somewhere, we ensure that somebody is there to receive us, we know, or we have our bookings done and all the arrangements done. This was, again, 69-year-old old man, no knowledge of America, foreign language, had no idea whether somebody would come to receive him or not. Just that he knew Gopal's father, he had met in Mathura and he requested him, and Gopal had told his son to give a sponsorship letter, and which later on Gopal Agrawal mentioned that his father would send many times. His father would love sadhus, and whoever wanted to go America, he would send their sponsorship letters. And till now, nobody had come to America. So all the sponsorship letters were not. So he was thinking, ki ye bhi nahi aayenge. So it was, he also had no hope. And when actually Srila Prabhupada sent a letter with his photo, and when Gopal Agarwal and Sally, his wife, American lady, they received the letter, they were also surprised and shocked. Are sach mein koi aa raha hai? And with this personality, was like strange looking. They had not seen a sadhu. Nobody knew what a sadhu looks like in America. So nobody had seen Krishna's photo, nobody had seen what a sadhu is, or how to receive a sadhu or greet a sadhu. And even when Prabhupada was, it's a long journey how Prabhupada reached his first residence in YMCA, Butler, Pennsylvania, and his Sally Agarwal, and they were very gracious hosts, and how they received Srila Prabhupada. But they were also surprised. The first time she was seeing a sadhu dressed in strange dresses, and he had come, and she was not sure what will they tell their neighbors and acquaintances ki ye kaun hai? Why is he staying at their house, and who he was? So she actually went to a local newspaper, Butler Eagle, and wrote that this is Swami from America had come with a message of Bhagavatam. So that she doesn't have to answer ki kaun aaya, who is this strange person. So these was the strange circumstances where Srila Prabhupada went, and a long struggle for at least 6-8 months, was intense struggle with Srila Prabhupada, with no money. In these 8 months, 6 residences Srila Prabhupada moved, to shift to another house, to another room, things being stolen, and so many challenges which Srila Prabhupada faced, but Prabhupada was fixed. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki. Prabhupada was fixed to bring Radha Gopinath, their lordships Radha Krishna, to the entire world and fulfill the prophecy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prithiviyate Ach Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hobe Moranam. And that's what we see now. The rest is history. How Srila Prabhupada spread this Krishna consciousness across the globe, traveling around the globe 14 times in 12 years, establish the historic Gaudiya Vaishnava movement across the globe. And we are all very, very fortunate to come in touch with this glorious movement. And it's our great, great fortune. So Krishna Chandra Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, so it's like we are like those horses who have been brought to the well. So you can bring the horse to the water, but the rest is up to the horse to drink. So he was mentioning how we are all fortunate somehow by Prabhupada's mercy, by devotees' mercy, we have come to this movement. So now it is up to us how we seriously take this message of Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of Guru-Parampara, coming from Srila Prabhupada and his empowered devotees, and accept in our life and assist Srila Prabhupada and his devotees in whatever capacities, from Hanumanji to the squirrel, whatever capacities range we are, we just fit in making that bridge connecting Jiva to Radha Gopinath back. Hare Krishna. So with this, would I like to end. We offer our gratitude, heartfelt gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for taking that historic voyage on this day, 1965, which because of that we are all sitting in this air-conditioned hall and hearing Katha, Bhagavad Katha, where Prabhupada's first audiences were hippies with trucks, noises and sirens, and nobody had heard about Krishna. So many challenges which Srila Prabhupada had to do. And we are just now here very comfortably practicing Krishna consciousness by the mercy of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jaladut Yatra ki. Hare Krishna.